if you've lived life long enough, you've had a reality check before, haven't you? At least if you're paying attention in life, you've probably had many of them. I remember one of the most distinct reality checks for Alicia and I were all the excitement we had after we were first married about going to the Bahamas. We had been there so much. We were so in love with the people there and so excited about the ministry there. But about a month out, before we're literally moving out of the country to another island, we had some really hard doses of reality about just how much turmoil the ministry was in that we were going to be a part of. And so all of this excitement and good vibes were suddenly kind of tempered by the reality that, oh, there's a lot more going on here than we ever realized. And so that reality began to play out as we're moving to the island, and yet another layer of reality hit us after we moved to the island, and we're seeing just the messiness of everything that's going on, is that the Lord brought us another reality check back to the joy of why it is we first went there. And that reality check was, listen, Brad, Alicia, I've got something here for you to do. I've brought you here on purpose, and no matter how difficult it is, no matter how messy it is that things are going on, and how much you may not even want to be here anymore, you're here because of me, and your circumstances will not rob you of the joy I have set before you. And listen, reality checks are hard, aren't they? When you imagine the way something is going to be, or imagine the way you think it's supposed to be, and then you come into this new insight into how things are really going to be, that's a reality check. And we get them all the time. So that job you applied for that you thought was one thing, and oh, now that I'm in it, it turns out to be another. Yeah, reality check, right? That relationship you had that you thought was going great, but then they come to you with that thing that you did wrong, or that the way you hurt them, and suddenly you're realizing, oh, things were not at all what I thought they were in this relationship. Maybe it's something you thought you had overcome, a bad thought pattern in your head that you thought you were past that, a bad habit that you thought you had kicked, or whatever it may be, a grief you thought you had let go of and found out it was still there. Yeah, those reality checks, they come and they're hard to deal with. But here's the key. We need reality checks, and Jesus is the one that gives us reality checks most often. That's how he does things, because that's the only way he lives in reality, not according to expectations. And that's exactly what we need from Jesus. We need Jesus to take us out of life as we imagine it or want it to be or dream it to be. We need him to take us out of that and into, okay, this is how he sees it, and this is what it really is, and how he wants you to face it. Yeah, that's living out of our own ignorance and into his reality. And so I want you to keep that in mind this morning, because this morning, Jesus is giving the people that are following him a real reality check about what it means to follow him. Whatever they're imagining that might mean, whatever they want that to mean, Jesus is saying, no, I'm going to let you know what that really is. So be thankful about that, right? As you're reading that, and as harsh or as hard as this passage may seem, or as hard as Jesus' words may be to hear, be thankful. Jesus is going to keep it real. He's going to keep it 100, because that's all he does. And that's what we need. All right. So let's begin reading in this text. We're in Luke 14, and we're just going through verses 25 to 35 this morning. So verse 25. Now, great crowds accompanied him, and he turned and said to all of them. Remember, we're talking about many thousands of people. He turned and said to them all, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.' Or what king, going out to encounter another king in war, will not sit down first and deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is of no use either for the soil or for the manure pile. It is thrown away. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." That's pretty strong, isn't it? He who has ears to hear, let him hear. So I want you to hear the Jesus that is talking here, because there's lots of different ways to view Jesus, and many of them are right. So there's the kind, compassionate, loving shepherd, right? There's the powerful healer, Jesus, who does miracles. There's the heart-gripping teacher who says things and you're like, wow, he teaches with authority. But then there's the no-holds-barred disciple maker, right? The fiercely determined Savior who is coming along, who's going to a cross, right? He's on his way to Jerusalem, and he's saying, I'm going to give up my life, and if you're going to follow me, you're going to have to give up your life too. And this is what it means. I just want to be crystal clear with you. Right? That's the Jesus we're hearing. So let's tune our ears into that Jesus this morning. And it's interesting because I'm not going to take you through any nice little alliterated outline this morning. The outline is here in the text, and it's in the repeated phrase, cannot be my disciple. Did you hear that in the text as we read it? And Jesus kept saying that. So let's examine these statements that Jesus makes about those who cannot be his disciple. So first of all, and this is probably the hardest and most head-scratching one, but the first statement Jesus makes is, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Hate parents, siblings, children, yourself. What is Jesus saying here? And why does he have to say it that way? Have you ever wondered why Jesus says the things he does? Can't you do it a different way, Jesus? But listen, I'm not going to stand up here and try to minimize the impact of the word hate and explain it away. Because Jesus used that word on purpose, and Jesus used the word for a little blunt force behind what it is he's trying to tell these people. So don't lessen the impact of the blunt force of Jesus' words. So here he is to a whole crowd of people, and I want you to imagine you're in that crowd with your family right there next to you, and Jesus is saying, if you don't hate these people that are closest to you in this world, that you love the most, the people that you would give your life up for, if you don't hate them and follow me, then you cannot be my disciple. That's kind of awkward, isn't it? Can you imagine just looking at your kids and being like, well, I don't know what to do with that one. I mean, that's a powerful statement. What do we do with these words? Well, first of all, let's start with this, because Jesus is going to cover everything about this decision about being with him or not being with him. And you remember a couple chapters earlier, Jesus was talking about your resources. Don't worry about your resources. Your food, your clothing, where you're going to live. Seek first the kingdom, and I'll add to you what I want to add to you. But seek first the kingdom, right? So Jesus dealt with the resources, and now he's dealing with your relationships. What does it mean to follow Jesus when you have all of these wonderful, good, God-appointed relationships in your life? How do you follow Jesus with the people you love and that you're dedicated to? Because as you know, listen, the family relationships you have, those are the closest ones to you. And incidentally, they are very much appointed by God, aren't they? So God, back in Genesis, says the man and the woman are one flesh. And for children, he says to Adam and Eve, go be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. So these family relationships are kind of God ordained. So what is it that I'm supposed to hate when these people are given by God? Well, the first thing to see here is the impact of these words should show you that you're not to devalue family. That's not the goal here. The reason he's saying that so stark and so controversially is not to lessen the people around you, but to greatly, exponentially magnify the value of Jesus Christ. As much as you care about these people you are supposed to love, in comparison, it should look almost like hate that you love Jesus so much more than them. That's a really powerful statement. Have you ever really wrestled with that? Have you really considered that in your own life? Because there are a lot of families here who really love and invest in each other, and that's a good thing. Keep doing that. But listen, there is an exclusiveness to our love and our longing for Jesus. Did you hear that? There's an exclusiveness to Jesus. He is not in any category with anybody else. It's not the same ballpark. It's not the same picture. Your love for Jesus is incomparable to anyone else. That is exactly what he's trying to say here. So, one real life example of this is like the turtle that's in Tristan's room, right? He's got this pet turtle. It's cool. Pets are great, aren't they? Right? But, when I think about the value of the turtle versus the value of my son Tristan, well, animals should be cared for. They're created by God, and we should nurture them, right? But come on. There's no comparison between a turtle and my son. You know the difference there. I don't have to explain that. So how many turtles would it take to equal my son? It's a ridiculous question, right? Because you don't even compare the two. Yeah, that's what Jesus is saying about your love for him, your commitment to him, who he is in your life, versus anybody else. And I don't care how close that person is to you. So, I would hope that all 5 of my kids would be able to say, you know what, Dad, you're great, but you don't even hold a candle to Jesus, dude. When I think of my love for Jesus, it doesn't even compare to the way I love you. I love Jesus so much more, Dad. Sorry, if I lost you, Dad, that'd be hard, but I'm not losing Jesus. Yeah, that's what that means. And my own wife, as much as we are one flesh. That's the one relationship that I'm supposed to stick with my whole life. But listen, I hope my wife looks at me and says, yeah, Brad, you're fine. We're getting a little older now. But, you're a nice guy. I love you. I love you more than anyone else in this world. But, Brad, honestly, when it comes to Jesus, you don't hold a candle. There's no comparison. Sorry. And listen, I hope that would be true. And that's not sad for me to say. The only thing that would be sad for me is if my wife and my children could not say that. I hope that they do. So, in light of that, what's some real life application to realizing the exclusiveness of Jesus? Just how far apart he stands from any other person? Well, it's realizing that nobody but Jesus has to be in my life. I'm thankful God put him there. But honestly, I have to have Jesus and no one else. Can you say that? Because Jesus wants you to be able to say that. If he's saying, hate these people so much to the degree that you love me, what he's saying is, you have to have me, not them. So, what can I do then to not only live that way, but a specific application for us might be, how can I instill that in my kids? Because I want to live that way. I want to show my kids that life. And let me tell you this. Please invest in your kids in such a way that they know how to go before God and talk to him and handle his word. please invest in your kids in a way that they know how to meet Jesus here, that they know how to see the worth of Jesus, see the worth of themselves right here in God's word for themselves. Because listen, all of the teaching here at Tabor is, I hope it's great. And all the podcasts we listen to, it's great to hear from other people. But what we need is people that can meet with Jesus and find him and see his value as they meet with the word, and they don't have to depend on somebody else to do that for them. So invest in your kids that way. Invest in them in a way that they will see the exclusiveness of Jesus and their love for him. So the next statement about what Jesus says about those who cannot be his disciple says there in verse 27, whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. So not only is it exclusive, Jesus and our love for him, but there's a commitment involved, a real lifelong commitment. The commitment is bear your cross and come after me. Again, Jesus hasn't gone to a cross yet, but a cross is picking up the thing that's going to kill me, giving my life away or having it being taken from me, however they would have seen it and however you see that. It means nothing less than I'm giving up my life. It's going to be over. The life I knew, that is done. Come after me, Jesus says. Take up your cross. Come after me. And listen, the way he says that should clue us into the fact that life is not meant to be easy. Jesus wasn't interested in our comfort, not theirs, not ours, and we should know that and embrace it. I want you to think about this for a second. It's not just that life wasn't meant to be easy because the fall happened and sin is here. Realize that what did God do with Adam when he put him in the Garden of Eden? Why did he put him in the Garden of Eden? It says in Genesis 2:15, he put him there to work and care for the garden. Adam's life purpose involved work, doing what God wanted him to do and doing it God's way. Okay, yeah. That hasn't changed just because sin is there. And of course, Jesus didn't live by convenience either. God himself committed to his plan of redemption no matter what it cost him. Right? And that wasn't easy. He literally bore his cross. So I want you to think about the difference here between convenience and commitment and really examine our lives in light of what are we living for? Are we living for convenience? To be trouble-free. If trouble comes, I'm immediately looking for my way out. That's convenience. Convenience is I can come and go as I see fit. I'm going to do what I'd rather do. Convenience is often focused on my own comfort. And when we look at things and what we're doing with our lives and how we think about things, that may be more true than we want to admit. But the difference of convenience is commitment. And commitment is a determination to stay put where I belong. Now that's key there, where I belong. Commitment isn't staying put no matter what the situation is. No. Staying put where you belong and where Jesus wants you. That's commitment. I do not get to go and come as I please, but I live on purpose until that thing that Jesus has for me is accomplished. That's commitment. No matter how uncomfortable things may become, no matter how much trouble comes, am I living by convenience or commitment? When I was in junior high, I was not a big guy. I was one of the smaller guys. Didn't hit my growth spurt till in high school. But I had this really good idea in junior high as a 90-pound weakling that I wanted to play football. I loved watching football. I'm old enough to play now, so I should play football. All right, so Dad signed me up, right? Okay, you want to play football? Okay, we're going to do this then. If you want to play football, we're doing it. So we signed up, and, what I imagined football to be was, hey, I think I have some athleticism, and, I enjoy watching it. I enjoy kind of playing it in the backyard, So I had all these vivid dreams of, scoring touchdowns and, making great plays. And so, yeah, that's what I have in my head about what football is going to be. But then the first practice comes, and 90-something pound Brad is practicing football with most guys on the team being about 140 pounds or so or more. And I quickly realize, size matters in football. Yeah, that makes a difference how big you are, right? And maybe I'm not quite as athletic as I thought. And the glory of interceptions and touchdowns, that doesn't really happen in practice. It probably doesn't really happen in games either. This thing's a grind, and it's brutal, and it's physical, and I'm getting beat down. And about halfway through the season, on the way to practice, I'm in the car, and I'm literally crying to Dad, saying, please don't make me do this, Dad. I'm ready to be done, right? This is not what I thought it was. The reality check hit hard, and I didn't like it, and I wanted a way out. And I wanted a way out right now, because I don't want to endure another practice, much less another game. It's just not going well. This is not at all what I imagined. Please let me out, Dad. And to his credit, Dad said, nope. Sorry, Brad. We started this. We committed to it. You committed to your teammates. This is about them, and this is not about you. You're going to have to finish the season. Man, bad answer, Dad, but it was the right answer. It's exactly what I needed to hear, right? Because the reality check hurt, and as I'm looking for a way out, the next reality check came from Dad, who said, we live up to our commitments, Brad. It's another month or two. You can do this. Deal with it, right? I mean, he said it in nicer words than that because he's a really nice guy. But that was the message. There's no way out, man. You're committed. It's not convenient, but that's too bad. You're committed. The reality check doesn't match your own idea of what it should be. But here's the key. The hard things looked a little different once I realized, I am committed to this thing. There isn't a way out. I don't necessarily need to look for a way out. In my heart, I knew Dad was right, even though I wanted to disagree with him. I'm sure I did. But in my heart, I knew it was right. And interestingly, the season didn't go much better. I didn't get a lot better, but I saw things a little differently once it became a matter of commitment and not a matter of convenience. Football season looked a little different, even if I didn't find the success I wanted, even if it still wasn't what I hoped or imagined it to be. That mindset change from convenience to commitment made all the difference in the world. So that's the mindset Jesus is challenging with every person that's physically surrounding him in this crowd. So think about this. Jesus is giving this crowd of thousands of people who want to herd and flock around him a real reality check about their commitment. So imagine this. You got to know this is true, right? And Jesus knew exactly all the motivations of all these people around him. But you got to imagine some of the people in this crowd were probably, maybe they were possibly ready to join Jesus. Yeah, Jesus, what he's doing and saying is true, and I think I want to be a part of this. So there's probably some of those people. There's certainly some people that are there, they're curious, they're interested in what's going on, but they'd rather just keep their distance. They like to look at Jesus from afar, but they don't really want to get close to him. They'd rather just stay back here and observe. Yeah, there are those people. And then you got to know there were plenty of people that were just there along for the ride and enjoying the amazing spectacle of Jesus. Because it was a spectacle, wasn't it? What was going on in the life of Jesus was truly amazing. The miracles he's doing. And they recognize his teaching as, he doesn't teach like the Pharisees. This guy is different. He's powerful. And, by the way, he's sticking it to the Pharisees. I kind of like that too, right? What's going on with Jesus is something to behold. But Jesus is not going to let them just behold it. He's going to challenge them and say, listen, are you just here for the spectacle? Are you just here for the entertainment? Because this is the thing that Jesus wants to make very, very clear by these statements. Jesus is not a traveling circus. Right? No. Jesus is traveling to a cross. And if you don't see that, if you don't believe that about Jesus, then you better see it now, because Jesus is making that stark. If you're here for the fun and the entertainment, don't bother. But if you're here to give up your life for the one who's about to give his life up for you, okay, stick around for that. Because that's what's coming. That's what it's going to take. That's what I'm offering. Take it or leave it, but that's what I'm offering. That's what Jesus said. Your choice to make, but that's what it is. You know, I think it was Martin Luther that talked about the great exchange, right? That we give our sin to Jesus and he gives his righteousness to us. That's what salvation is. Well, what Jesus is making clear here is that there is a great exchange to follow him. You better understand that, and you better see that you can have your treasures or you can have his. Your choice, but you're going to have to exchange your treasures if you want his. You can hold on to your family or you can be part of his family. But you have to choose. Are you going to be in charge and own your own family? Or are you going to be owned by him and let him guide you into commitment with your relationships? Right? There's a very big difference there. Listen, ownership is the right to do whatever you please with what you have. That's ownership, isn't it? So are you committed to the ownership of Jesus over your life? Because that's what it takes to be a disciple. That's what it means to follow him. He has ownership, which means he has the right to do with you whatever he wants, whatever pleases him. And we step in and we say, okay, I'm taking that, Jesus. I'd rather you own me than me own me. Yep. I'd rather you own my family than me own my family or my resources or whatever else it is. And whatever that means, things I can't imagine, things I may not want. But whatever that means, I take it, Jesus, because you're worth that much. I'll give everything for you. So, the key here is you don't give Jesus ownership. He already has it. Right? Let me just qualify that statement. You don't give him ownership. He has it. But the key is, will you joyfully, willingly embrace that ownership? Even when it turns out to be stuff you never wanted to happen in your life. Even when the loss and the hardship is stuff you want to run away from right now. Will you joyfully embrace his ownership? That's the commitment he's calling us to. And the last statement here that Jesus makes is set up by this scenario of counting the cost. You need to count the cost and you renounce everything you have, or you cannot be my disciple. So the third thing is that following Jesus is calculated. That's what counting the cost is. That's what renouncing is. It's a calculated decision. It's not an emotional response. It's not a, let's elope and go get married out of the sudden blue, right? No, this is purposeful, and it's planned, and it's something you execute with good thought. I remember several years ago, Alicia and I were kind of house hunting, we were fine with the place we were at, but we kind of hoped for something a little bigger where we could let our expanding family fill it and host people and all that. So we actually went to look at this historic house on 8th Street. Right? It was a really good deal on it, and as soon as we walked in the door, we realized why there was a really good deal on it. Right? Fixer-upper is kind of a mild way to put it. But this beautiful house, I mean, stunning, right? 8th Street in Madison. I don't know if you remember that white house that's there. But we walk in, and, we're thinking about all the possibilities. Oh, man, what this house could be, the way we could imagine it to be, it would have been phenomenal. Great place. But it was in awful shape. And so we had to count the cost. Well, first counting the cost meant money. Oh, we're going to buy this place with way less money than we think it's worth. But as we started calculating the amount of money it would take to actually fix the place up the way we imagined it, that was a whole different ballgame. right? Those calculations were not pretty, and suddenly now we're in reality. Oh, goodness. Not only is there the reality of the amount of money it's going to take, but think about the sweat equity and the time it was going to take, because hiring people to do everything was definitely not going to work. We're going to have to do a bunch on our own. And what is our life going to look like if we spend the next years fixing up this place every single day? Like, are we willing to pay that price? I'm glad we asked that question, because if we'd gotten into it without asking those questions, that would have been in utter disaster. Found ourselves in a place we didn't want to be. But by counting the cost, we were prepared with whatever the outcome might be. Oh, that means we don't get this place. Oh, that means we stay where we're at. Oh, God might not provide something, or he might. We don't know. But we're willing to live with whatever it means because we've counted the cost. Right? Count the cost. That word there, counting the cost, is something that needs to be done in real time. Right? How often have you waited until after something happened and then you kind of realized the cost and you never really counted it before it happened? Does that happen to you? It happened to me all the time. Right? Ooh, I didn't see that one coming. I didn't spend time thinking and praying about this. I jumped in, and now I'm kind of reaping the consequences of my hasty decision. Yeah, that happens. But counting the cost allows us to deal with whatever it is that comes. So, what's coming for you? Have you ever heard the phrase, God loves you and has a wonderful plan for your life? Is that what's coming for you? I think Jesus wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. I just think here he might say that a little differently. I think what Jesus might say, the feisty Jesus here, I think what he might say is, I do love you, and my wonderful plan for your life is going to cost you everything. Not a cent less. Everything. Even the people closest to you. I'm going to own them, not you. I'm going to set their life and determine it, not you. Are you willing to give that up? Are you willing to let go of it and hold on to me? Because the only way to hold on to Jesus is with both hands. You don't get to hold on to him and hold on to other things too. Sorry, don't get your cake and eat it too. That's not what Jesus is telling you. So count that cost. And then, when you see the worth of Jesus, renounce everything you have. It's interesting that the renouncing there, that word is a present active participle in the original language, which means it's an ongoing, repeated action. It's continuous. So you're counting the cost, and then you're renouncing. You're renouncing. That's your way of life. As you count the cost of what it means to follow Jesus, you're looking around to say, ooh, am I holding on to that thing too dearly? Am I making too much of that thing over here? Or is this something I shouldn't even grab onto? Count the cost, and then be renouncing whatever it is that would stand in the way of your exclusive commitment and passion for Jesus. And I want to be clear here, because when I say that following Jesus is calculated, it makes it sound like it's a bit of a cold, kind of a math problem that's just solved and done with. And I want to be clear that calculation leads to passion. It's not just a decision I made. It's a decision I made that thrusts my longings and affections and passions ever deeper and greater into Jesus. And the reason I say that is because the danger of hearing words like commitment and calculation when it comes to Jesus is that your faith and your relationship with Jesus can feel like a sunk cost faith. You know what a sunk cost is? It's when you have this thing like this car I used to have. I used to have this gray Nissan Maxima 6-speed. It was fun to drive. It could take off pretty quick. You could corner pretty fast, and I like to corner fast. So I had this car, and I got a good deal on it. Well, the reason I got a good deal on it is because it was a piece of junk and I didn't realize it. So I'm pouring money, thousands and thousands of dollars into this car, and it's still not in good shape. There's still thousands more I have to buy or put into this car. And so I was kind of stuck into this thing where it's like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I'm investing way more than I planned to into this car. And so I don't really want to keep it, but I also don't want to get rid of it because I've spent all this money on it, and now I need to spend more. And you kind of get trapped into this, I've come so far with it, but do I really want to keep going? Because it's just hard. It's just painful. It's too much. It's more than I bargained for. That sunk cost. And I don't want anyone in this room to feel like, I've been following Jesus my whole life, and my family kind of expects me to, and I've got to live up to a reputation, and it would just look bad and be difficult if I was really real with where I'm at with Jesus. Don't live in sunk cost. Right? What Jesus is saying is, look, I'm not here to be a spectacle. I'm not here for you to look at me from a distance and just kind of enjoy the show. I want you to follow me, but following means this. Are you in or are you out? That's it. Some kind of invitation, huh? This isn't warm fuzzies. This isn't, I love you so much. I really want you to be next to my side. We're going to see the more loving, compassionate, pursuing Jesus next chapter. Wait for that for next week. Today, we get to see the Jesus that demands you. All of you, nothing less. Is that where you're at? This is not a guilt trip. This is not just pointing out how you're falling short. I hope this is an encouragement to you to say, oh, it's not just that I have to do enough to give everything to Jesus. It's that in your life, He's drawing you and all of it to Himself. Don't resist that. Don't. Jesus wants everything. He's in the process of taking everything if you're really His follower. Let Him do it. That's the Christian life. Let Him do it. He's already given you all of Him. Let Him have all of you. That's what He's asking. And that's what He'll do. That's the life of Jesus in us. So as uninviting as it may seem, Jesus keeps saying, you cannot be my disciple. You cannot be my disciple if you don't do this, 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 and this. Well, realize that He's doing that. His life in you will draw that out of you. It will make demands, but then it will accomplish that for you. That's the life of Jesus. That's what He's offering. That's what He's capable and willing of doing in your life. So listen, reality checks, they're hard. When things aren't what you imagine them to be, and now you're seeing what they really are. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it makes you want to back away, walk away, whatever that may be. But we need Him. Clarity from Jesus is real life. Listen to it. Embrace it. When Jesus is showing you what is real, step into it. That's the reality check. Jesus is worth it. That's the ultimate reality check, isn't it? The worship team's going to come and pray, come and sing, and I'm going to pray. So let's just take these hard words of Jesus, and let's just cast our cares and our trust and our longings all on Him this morning. Jesus, thank You for not mincing words with us. Thank You for not doing the bait and switch. Thank You for being real. As hard as Your words may seem, as much as we contemplate those words and we probably see ourselves falling short, we probably see ourselves holding on to other things and not giving them up to You. But Jesus, give us Your confidence that that's the work You're doing in our lives. That where we fall short, You step in. That what we cannot do, You can. Thank You for the power of Your might in our lives. Thank You for the motivation that You stir up and provide and give to us. And thank You that You've called us to Your very own in the most exclusive kind of way. Set our hearts and our affections on you and you alone, Jesus. And then we get to see everything else in our life through your eyes, through the value that you give it. And oh, what a blessing that is. Thank you, Jesus. In your name we pray.